My daughter said, "I find Mom disgusting." What happened next changed our lives forever. The day Emily spat those words out felt like the skies split open, pouring rain down on Sarah's already heavy heart. "I find Mom disgusting," echoed in her mind, ricocheting off every corner of her soul. At 38, Sarah had poured her life into her daughter, sacrificing everything to raise Emily alone since her husband had walked out years ago. Late nights stuffing envelopes for her small home-based business, early mornings preparing breakfast, and tight schedules for community events had been the soundtrack of Sarah's life. Yet now, standing in the kitchen, everything felt futile under the weight of those three heavy words. Sarah's heart sank as she fought back tears. It was supposed to be just a normal day, a simple dinner, laughter, maybe even a little chat about school. Instead, all the love and sacrifice she had poured into raising Emily seemed to vanish in an instant, stripped away by the venom of teenage rejection. "I'm just trying to give her a better life," she whispered to herself, feeling small and defeated. Emily, at 16, was caught in the cyclone of teenage angst. Social media painted her world in shades of envy and comparisons, where every peer's opinion danced like shadows in her mind. But Sarah couldn't understand she was the one who fought for their little bubble, the one who kept them fed and cherished. Why didn't Emily see it? Days turned into weeks, and the rift only broadened as the local economy faltered, pulling Sarah's business to the brink of collapse. It was a dark time, yet unexpectedly, the neighborhood rallied around her. When they showed up with casseroles and donations, calling her a local hero, Emily watched as the community uplifted her mother. Their laughter and support hit Emily like a ton of bricks. Maybe Mom wasn't so disgusting after all. Maybe there was a reason why people respected Sarah. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let us continue. But as Emily sought to understand her mother's significance, words remained lodged in both their hearts, creating a fortress of misunderstanding. Anger and hurt strung their relationships tighter each day. One night, Sarah attempted connection, an olive branch of conversation, but it exploded into a confrontation, where unspoken emotions surfaced like geysers. "You don't understand what I lived through," Emily screamed, tears in her eyes, while Sarah fought back. Her OWN.IT was in that whirlwind of anger that Emily stumbled upon a long-buried story from Sarah's past, a hero's journey that shaped her into the resilient woman standing before her. As Emily learned about her mother's sacrifices and those heart-wrenching battles fought beyond home and heart, guilt seeped through her adolescent bravado, mixing with confusion. Could they navigate this storm? Standing on the edge of hope and heartache, Sarah and Emily faced a question more profound than either could have imagined. Could love rise above hurtful judgments and build a bridge of understanding when everything seemed lost? The next few days were heavy. Tension clung to the air like fog in the early morning, surrounding both Sarah and Emily as they moved silently around the house. Breakfast was a quiet affair, with Sarah pouring orange juice into glasses and Emily scrolling through her phone at the table, her thumbs moving furiously. So close yet so far from each other, they felt the weight of unspoken words pressing against them. One afternoon, Sarah found herself sitting on the porch, the late summer sun warming her skin. She watched the neighborhood kids playing in the street, laughter echoing through the air. Remnants of her heartache still lingered, and she could feel that emptiness in her chest. Day after day, she had dedicated her life to Emily, hoping their bond would be enough to weather any storm. But the storm wasn't over yet. Just as she was about to glide back inside, Emily emerged. The girl stood there on the porch, seemingly lost in thought. Sarah's heart raced, unsure if this moment would lead to a bridge or another chasm. "Can we talk?" Emily finally asked, her voice trembling. "Of course," Sarah replied, trying to keep her tone steady, hoping to mask the fear bubbling within her. Emily sat on the edge of the porch, her fingers nervously twisting together. "I've been thinking about what I said. It was harsh. I don't really mean it. I just got frustrated." A sigh of relief escaped Sarah's lips. Emily, it's okay. I know you're going through so much. I'm trying to be here for you. I know that, but I guess I didn't see it. I only saw what I wanted, what everyone else has, Emily continued, regret washing over her face. I felt like you were holding me back. I thought you were just a mom. You're right, Sarah replied softly. I'm your mom, but I'm so much more than that. For a moment, silence enveloped them. The weight of the words hung in the air, leaving space for vulnerability. Mom, Emily's voice finally broke through the quiet. I learned about your past, the sacrifices you made. I had no idea. I think I've been so wrapped up in my own world that I never thought about yours. Tears pricked at Sarah's eyes as she listened. I didn't share because I wanted to protect you. I wanted you to have what I didn't. The conversation shifted something inside Emily. I really admire you, Mom. Seeing everything you've done makes me feel ashamed of how I've treated you. She looked down at her hands, the weight of her confession marking the moment. Listen, we both have things to learn, Sarah said, hoping to fill the gap that still loomed between them. You're growing up, and I can see how brave you are. There's strength in you that I want to nurture. Just like I've fought for you, I want to fight with you. There was a shift in Emily's expression as realization dawned. I want to understand you better too. I want us to be a team. Sarah reached out, intertwining their fingers. Let us figure this out together. It's not always just about being a mom or a daughter, but about being two people each on their own journey. As they sat there, the warmth from the sun began to transform into something more than a mere backdrop. It was a promise, a glimmer of hope that maybe they could rise above the hurt. Hope for each other began to stir, filling the space around them with an unspoken bond. That evening, their laughter began to break the walls of tension that had formed. They flipped through old photo albums and shared stories, uncovering parts of each other that had long been hidden. It felt good. But as they shared laughter over goofy childhood pictures, a question lingered: would the past echo in their hearts, or would they be brave enough to rewrite their narrative? Just as they were lost in the joy of reconnection, a knock at the door interrupted them. Standing there was a familiar face from the community, a woman with a serious expression that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. We need to talk, she said, her voice steady and weighted with urgency. Both Sarah and Emily exchanged worried glances, sensing that whatever news was to come could change everything once again. What could this mean for them? The tension in the room shattered like glass. Sarah's heart thudded loudly against her ribs, her mind racing. Emily's eyes widened, mirroring her shock, as they both awaited the woman's next words. She took a step into the house, allowing the evening light to catch her face. Linda from the community center, she told me about some troubling things happening with the youth group, the woman announced, her voice solemn. We need to address some serious issues before they get out of control. What do you mean? Sarah asked, trying to keep the urgency at bay. The earlier warmth faded, as dread settled back into the pit of her stomach. The woman cleared her throat. There's been talk of substance abuse among some kids in the neighborhood. I thought you should know since Emily is part of that group. They're a tight circle, and when one starts to slip, it doesn't take long for others to follow. No. Emily burst out, her voice sharp and defensive. I'm not part of that. You don't know what you're talking about. Her cheeks flushed, anger mixing with embarrassment. I know you're not involved, but it's important to keep an eye out, the woman pressed, her hands fidgeting. You have to talk to your friends, encourage them to stay away from that crowd. Fury bubbled within Emily. I can take care of myself. You don't need to tell my mom how to raise me. She jumped to her feet, her chair scraping against the floor. Emily, calm down, Sarah urged, but the heat of their earlier connection seemed evaporating with each moment. Sarah's instinct was to protect her. Don't lash out. She's just looking out for you. But Emily, overwhelmed with emotions, stormed past both women and into the house. The front door slammed shut behind her, rattling the frame. Sarah turned back to the woman, her heart heavy with confusion. What did I do wrong? She whispered, tears threatening to spill. You didn't do anything, the woman replied softly. Sometimes, kids feel suffocated. It's natural. Just keep the lines of communication open. They're more fragile than they let on. With a tight-lipped nod, Sarah watched the woman leave. The quiet that followed felt deafening. It was punctuated only by the steady ticking of the wall clock. Emily. Sarah called, her voice shaky as she ventured inside, searching her daughter. She found Emily sitting on the edge of her bed, arms crossed tightly. Can we talk about this? I don't want to. Emily shouted back, frustration lacing her words. You're always treating me like I can't think for myself. The words pierced Sarah deeply. That's not what I meant, sweetie. I just care, I get that. But not everyone is like me. Emily's eyes flared with defiance. You don't even trust me. What if I'm handling things well? What if I'm fine? Are you? Sarah's question hung in the air, a taut string. Because I see you struggling with so much friendships, choices, everything from the past. Emily scoffed, throwing her hands up. You think I care about your past? Why can't you just let me be me? You're the one who is suffocating me. The bitterness echoed like a wave crashing through her. Sarah began, but her voice faltered. She felt the distance growing again, pulling them apart when they had just begun to reconnect. With a heavy heart, Sarah stepped back, desperate for understanding but unsure how to find it. She longed to reach her daughter, to tell her everything would be okay. But as she stepped out of the room, she wondered if their fractured bond would ever heal. What would it take to finally pave the way back to trust before it was too late? As darkness fell outside, hope flickered dimly. Sarah felt the familiar sting of dread creeping in, as if they were standing at the edge of an unseen precipice. Deep inside, she knew something had to change. But how? Sarah leaned against the doorframe, feeling the weight of unspoken words choking her. The night wrapped around the house like a thick fog, pressing in on her thoughts. She wished she could rewind time, back to the moments when Emily's laughter filled the spaces between them, unburdened by shadows. Now, all she could hear was the echo of Emily's anger, her declaration of independence laced with a hint of betrayal. Why can't I reach her? Sarah whispered to herself, wishing the answer would come as easily as the questions rose. She had poured her heart into the relationship, fought battles behind the scenes, and yet they were like two ships passing in the night. She longed to talk, to bridge the gap, but fear wrapped around her throat like a vice. With a heavy sigh, Sarah crossed the hallway, stopping in front of Emily's door. She knocked softly, hesitantly. Can we please talk? No answer. Emily, I'm not mad, I just want to understand. She leaned in closer, hoping her voice would break the silence. I love you. Moments ticked by, each one dripping with tension. Then she heard the faintest sound, a muffled sob. It broke her heart all over again. Honey, please, just let me in. After what felt like ages, the door creaked open a crack, revealing a glimpse of Emily's teary face. I don't want to talk, she muttered, wiping her eyes quickly as if ashamed. Sarah's heart sank. In this moment, she felt like a stranger to her own daughter. You don't have to say much. Just let me sit with you, okay? Emily hesitated but finally opened the door wider, conceding to that small gesture. They settled on the bed, both cocooned in tension but closer than before. Do you really think I'm suffocating you? Sarah finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Emily looked away, frustration still coloring her cheeks. You don't trust me, Mom. You act like I'm some kind of project that needs fixing. No, that's not what I want at all. I see you struggling. Sarah's voice broke, and she felt tears welling up again. I just want you to be safe. Emily sighed, the anger bubbling beneath the surface slowly dissipating as she shifted to face her mother. I am safe. But you keep adding pressure. Like that woman tonight, it made me feel like I can't handle anything. I always believed in you. Sarah needed Emily to see it, to feel the truth behind her words. But when I hear things about your friends, it scares me. It scares me because I don't want you to get hurt. Why can't you trust me to make my own decisions? I'm not a little girl anymore. Emily's voice rose, but now there was a quiver of vulnerability beneath it. Because I remember the little girl, Sarah replied softly, holding her gaze steady. I remember how much you loved the playground, how brave you were on the swings. It's hard to let go. For a moment, silence fell again. But this silence felt different, thicker, more understanding. Maybe I don't want you to let go, Emily admitted, her voice softer. Maybe I just want you to see me as someone who can take care of myself even if it's not perfect. I can do that, Sarah said, feeling a spark of hope igniting in her chest. How about we work on it together? Emily bit her lip, considering the offer. What does that even look like? I don't know, Sarah replied honestly. But we can figure it out. One step at a time. As they sat together in the dim light of the room, something shifted, an unspoken promise that this was just the beginning of a new path. But in the back of Sarah's mind, the fear lingered like a shadow. Had they just started to mend their relationship, or was this moment too fragile to last? Outside, the night deepened, and somewhere in the distance, the roar of a car echoed. It served as a stark reminder that the world beyond their walls was still swirling with unknowns. But for now, they would face it together. Would their efforts be enough to withstand the challenges coming their way? As the night stretched on, the air between them crackled with both hope and fear. Emily sat cross-legged on her bed, the warmth of the dim lamp casting soft shadows on her face, while Sarah remained at the edge, feeling the distance they had yet to fully bridge. Mom, what if? Emily hesitated, her voice small, like she was afraid of the words that were about to leave her lips. What if I do make mistakes? What if I mess things up? That's okay, Sarah replied, her heart racing. She reached over and gently took Emily's hand. The contact sent a wave of comfort through both of them. You're going to make mistakes. We all do. But mistakes don't define who you are. They're just part of growing up. Emily's gaze fell to their joined hands, her eyes searching for something in her mom's face. But what happens if I mess up and it's really bad? Sarah felt a surge of emotion. We'll deal with it together. You won't face anything alone. That seemed to resonate with Emily. She lifted her head and looked directly into her mother's eyes. Do you really mean that? Promise? I promise, Sarah said, her voice steady with conviction. She felt the walls between them beginning to crack, the fear of losing her daughter slowly being replaced with the possibility of understanding. Okay, Emily whispered, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Maybe I've been acting out because I don't know how to talk about what I'm feeling. Then let us start talking, Sarah encouraged gently, squeezing Emily's hand. What's been on your mind lately? The words spilled out of Emily's mouth, raw and unfiltered. She spoke of her friends, her fears, and the pressure she felt from school. Each revelation was like peering through a foggy window, and Sarah couldn't help but see her daughter for who she truly was, a brave young woman wrestling with the complexities of life. As Emily delved deeper, a mix of confusion and anger emerged. I feel like my friends don't understand me. And then there's you, sometimes it feels like you want me to be someone I'm not. Sarah's heart sank. I wouldn't want that. I just want you to be safe, to be happy. Then why don't we talk about the things I care about? Why do you only focus on the things that scare you? Emily's voice was a mixture of sadness and resolve. I'm scared too, Mom. Scared of not being good enough. Each word struck a chord within Sarah. You are more than enough, Emily. But I guess I've been so worried about you that I forgot to see the real you. It's time for me to listen, to really hear you. Emily nodded, her tears spilling over and rolling down her cheeks. Sarah felt a wave of empathy crash over her. She reached out to pull Emily into a hug, their bodies melding together, healing the ache of the past. I love you, Sarah said, the simple truth echoing in the confines of the room. You can always come to me, no matter what. I love you too, Mom, Emily murmured against her shoulder. The weight between them felt lighter, almost transformed. Moments passed in silence, enveloped by the rawness of their emotions. Yet, Sarah couldn't shake off the knot of worry that lingered. Had they really started to heal, or was it just an illusion, a brief respite before an inevitable storm? A sudden crash pierced the quiet, something falling or breaking outside. Both women froze, their hearts racing again, uncertainty creeping back in. What was that? Emily gasped, pulling away from their embrace. I don't know, but let us check. Sarah's voice trailed off, sensing the abrupt shift in the atmosphere. As they stood up, adrenaline coursing through them, a question loomed large in Sarah's mind. What darkness awaited them outside, and would it bring them closer or tear them apart once again? Emily's heart raced as she turned toward the window. Shadows danced in the moonlight outside, and the silence felt heavy, almost suffocating. Should we really go out there? She whispered, uncertainty written all over her face. Yeah, we should. You stay close to me, Sarah replied, her voice steady despite the unease fluttering in her stomach. She squeezed Emily's hand tighter, grounding both of them. They slowly made their way to the door, and with each step, the weight of their earlier conversation lingered. The bond they had just begun to rebuild felt fragile, and Sarah wasn't sure what lurking threat would test it. As they stepped outside, the cool air rushed over them, stealing the warmth of their room. The moon hung high, illuminating the yard, but everything felt eerily still. Broken branches and scattered leaves surrounded them, leftovers of the recent storm that had swept through. What is that? Emily pointed to a dark shape near the garden, nervousness making her voice quaver. It's probably just a branch, Sarah said, but doubt edged her words. They moved cautiously, inching closer. The closer they got, the more their imaginations ran wild. Was it just a fallen tree or something more? Sarah could feel Emily's fear radiating off her, a mirror of her own. Just as they reached the garden, a loud rustle echoed through the bushes, sending both of them jumping back. Emily's breath hitched, and Sarah turned to wrap her arm around her daughter. Stay behind me, she whispered, desperately trying to maintain a calm demeanor. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the bushes, a small dog, dirty and frightened. Its eyes were wide, and it let out a scared whimper. Relief washed over Sarah, but Emily remained tense, unsure if danger had truly passed. See? Just a pup, Sarah reassured her, bending down to the dog's level. Hey there, buddy, it's okay. Emily took a step forward, intrigued. Mom, look. He looks lost. The little dog approached cautiously, inching closer to Sarah's outstretched hand. It sniffed tentatively before giving a soft, trusting wag of its tail. He's cute, Emily breathed, and in that moment, the tension that had gripped their hearts began to fade. Yeah, he needs a home, Sarah said softly, glancing back at Emily. Maybe we can help him. With tentative fingers, Emily reached out to scratch the dog's chin, a smile breaking through her earlier fear. Can we keep him? A mix of emotions bubbled up inside Sarah. She wanted to say yes. The thought of rescuing the pup was tempting, a chance at something pure amidst their tumult. But what would it mean? Could they really take on the responsibility of a pet right now? I don't know, sweetheart, she started, running her hand over her hair. I mean, it could help us both. He could be like family, Emily said, a hopeful light in her eyes. The urge to protect this little creature matched the protectiveness she felt toward her daughter. Perhaps opening their hearts to a new life could help heal their own. All right, let us see what we need to do to take care of him, Sarah said, determination swelling inside her. This might be a good way to start fresh together. At that moment, as they turned back to the house, Emily looked up at her mother, her mood shifting. Do you think I could have a friend like that? Someone who really gets me? Absolutely, Sarah said, pretty sure they were both ready to find those connections, whether in a little dog or through their own evolving relationship. But as they headed back inside, an old neighbor emerged from the shadows, a serious look on his face. What were you two doing out here at this hour? The air thickened with tension again, and Emily shot a glance at her mother, the warmth from moments before dissipating. Just checking on something, Sarah said, unease creeping back in as the next wave of uncertainty washed over her. What's really going on? He pressed, eyebrows knitted together. Sarah's heart sank. The weight of old fears returned with full force. She knew the night had more secrets yet to unravel, secrets that could bring them all back together or tear them apart once again. What else lurked at the edges of this encounter? And could they handle whatever lay ahead? A sharp chill ran through Sarah as she met the neighbor's questioning gaze. His eyes, wide with suspicion, pierced through the tentative layer of serenity they had just begun to build. She could almost hear Emily's heart thumping beside her, echoing her own trepidation. "Don't worry, Mr. Collins," Emily said, her voice small but firm. "We found a dog that needs help." The old man's eyebrows lifted slightly, but skepticism lingered on his face. "A dog, huh? Out here in the middle of the night? You sure it's safe?" He shifted, casting a sidelong look toward the bushes where the little dog trembled. "It's just a pup," Sarah replied, trying to keep her tone light. "We thought we'd see if we could bring him inside until morning." Mr. Collins studied them, his frown deepening. "You girls should be careful out here. You never know what else might be lurking in the dark." His words hung heavy in the air. Sarah felt a knot form in her stomach. She wished he hadn't said that. The night already felt like a curtain drawn over their renewed connection, and with one line, old fears crept back in. "Thanks for the warning," Sarah said, forcing a smile. "But we'll be all right." The man nodded slowly but didn't move. The tension felt thick, almost suffocating, like a fog that wouldn't lift. Fine. Just keep the doors locked. You never know," he emphasized, before hurrying down the path, disappearing back into the shadows. With a shaky sigh, Sarah turned her gaze back to Emily. The girl had knelt beside the dirty pup, her fingers still brushing its fur, the small, frightened creature leaning into her touch. A moment of peace broke through the tension. "Hey, little guy," Emily whispered, and the dog finally wagged its tail, a visible sign of trust. "Looks like he's choosing you," Sarah said, her heart warming at the sight. Feeling an unexpected surge of resolution, Sarah knelt beside Emily, reaching out slowly to pet the pup. It leaned into her hand, as if sensing the love that wanted to shine through the shadows. Sarah felt a swell of warmth. Maybe this was just what they needed, someone to love and care for. "What should we name him?" Emily asked, brightening at the thought of responsibility. How about Lucky?" Sarah suggested, and Emily beamed. "I love it. He is lucky to have found us," she exclaimed, standing up with renewed excitement, her earlier fears dissipating into the night. Yet, as they turned to head back inside, the sense of unease lingered just below the surface, a faint whisper at the back of Sarah's mind. They were both still processing the upheaval of their lives, and the appearance of the dog felt like a double-edged sword. It was a distraction, a means to heal, but what if it was also a reminder of the vulnerabilities that surrounded them? As they crossed the threshold of the house, however, their moment of joy slipped a notch when a sudden crash echoed from the kitchen. The sound was jarring, unexpected. The serene bubble of their newfound bond shattered immediately. "Mom!" Emily shouted, hurrying ahead, but fear flickered in her eyes. "Stay back!" Sarah called, panic surging as she rushed to the kitchen, but also knowing she couldn't let her daughter face the unknown alone. What could possibly be in their home now? Was it a wild animal, or was it something deeper? Fear clawed at her throat, and the once promising night darkened again, filling Sarah with a sense of dread that she couldn't shake. What was waiting for them in the shadows of their own refuge? And could their newly forged connection weather whatever storm threatened to break loose? As Sarah pushed through the kitchen door, the chaos spilled out before her. A chair lay toppled on the floor, aluminum cans rolled across the tiles, but there was no sign of any intruder. "Emily, stay behind me." Sarah's voice was firm, but her heart raced with fear. She squinted into the dim light, searching for movement. I just wanted to grab a snack," Emily whispered, her small hands gripping the doorframe, eyes wide. Sarah exhaled sharply, relief and tension coiling through her in waves. "You scared me." "I thought I didn't mean to," Emily said, stepping cautiously into the kitchen. "I thought I'd get some crackers for Lucky." "Lucky?" Sarah asked, momentarily confused. She glanced down at the pup now nestled in Emily's arms, plump and cozy despite the unexpected noise. "Yes. That's what we named him." Emily's eyes sparkled, and the joy there flickered like a candle against the late-night shadows, but Sarah's pulse was still racing. "Okay, sweetie, but let us be careful. Clean up the mess first," she said, her motherly instincts kicking in. Emily nodded, suddenly serious. Together, they set to righting the chair and gathering the stray cans, the mundane task grounding them amid the lingering anxiety. As they worked, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the old man's words loomed over them. Something out there felt wrong. The shadows of the house, usually a comfort, now felt heavy. With each clatter of their movements, she wondered if they were drawing attention, beckoning danger closer. "Do you think Mr. Collins was right?" Emily asked, breaking the silence. "Is there something else out there?" "Maybe he was just trying to take care of us," Sarah replied, keeping her tone light even as she felt the dark tendrils of fear curl around her thoughts. People can be protective of their little corner of the world. "But he didn't even want to help us find Lucky," the little girl pointed out, stuffing the last of the uncrumpled cans into the recycling bin. "Sometimes people don't understand. They might not see things the way we do," Sarah said, trying to stuff her own uncertainty down. She summoned a smile, reaching out to ruffle Emily's hair. "But look at us. We did the right thing, didn't we?" With that, Emily beamed, the earlier fear erasing, at least for a moment. After tidying up, they settled into the living room, Lucky curled up between them like a fuzzy blanket. Flicking on a soft lamp, Sarah savored the warmth against the backdrop of the night. But in her heart, the question lingered like an unresolved chord: what if this newfound joy was merely a bandage over a larger wound? "Can we keep him, Mom?" Emily whispered, gazing down at Lucky with that tender, pleading expression that melted Sarah's heart. She hesitated, unsure. Could they truly take on the responsibility of a dog with everything else that was happening? As if sensing the moment, Lucky rolled over and licked Emily's cheek. A laugh bubbled out of her, chasing away the residual shadows. "Let us talk about it in the morning," Sarah said finally, desperation creeping into her voice. Right now, she didn't want to think about the future. She wanted to bask in this small bubble of affection, this moment of normalcy. But as Sarah sat back, glancing out the window, unease whispered again. The darkness outside felt heavier than ever, like it had a mind of its own. What if there truly was something lurking beyond the glass, just out of sight, waiting for the right moment to disrupt their lives once more? And then there was a soft sound, a rustle outside the window. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as fear electrified her body. "Emily," she warned, her voice low but urgent. What was out there in the shadows? And was it coming for them? The rustle outside grew sharper, and Sarah's heart raced, pounding in her chest like a drum. She instinctively moved closer to Emily, her body tense, every sense alert. The comforting glow of the lamps suddenly felt weak against the encroaching darkness, and the cozy home they created seemed more like a fragile shell. "Did you hear that?" Emily's voice trembled, the excitement once lighting her face now fading into fear. "Yeah, I did," Sarah replied, forcing a calmness she didn't feel. She peered through the window, her breath fogging the glass as she strained to see into the shadows. Nothing moved, but the silence was deafening. The house felt as if it were holding its breath. "Maybe it's just a squirrel," Emily suggested, feigning nonchalance despite the quiver in her voice. A chill ran down Sarah's spine. "Let us not take any chances," she said softly. "Why don't you grab Lucky and head upstairs?" She knew they needed to put distance between themselves and whatever might be lurking. Without hesitation, Emily scooped the pup into her arms, and they made their way to the stairs, the creaking wood echoing in the silence like a warning bell. As they climbed, Sarah glanced back at the window one more time before closing the door behind them, a battered shield against the lurking unknown. In the safety of Emily's room, she ushered them both to sit on the bed. The warm fuzziness of Lucky against their legs provided a momentary comfort, but it wasn't long before the air grew thick again with unspoken fears. "What if there is something out there, Mom?" Emily whispered, eyes wide, brimming with unshed tears. "What if it finds us?" "No, sweetheart," Sarah said, wrapping her arms around Emily, pulling her close. "We're safe here. I promise." But even as she said those words, a dread rattled inside her, a deep-seated worry that maybe they weren't safe. Moments slipped into minutes, and the weight of silence pressed heavily upon them. Just when Sarah thought she might break under the tension, a sudden loud noise echoed from downstairs, a crash that froze them both in place. "What was that?" Emily gasped, clutching Lucky tighter. I don't know." Sarah's voice trembled, the resolve she had moments before vanishing. "Stay here. I'll be right back. Please don't leave me, Mom." "Just stay quiet," she whispered, forcing herself to sound strong. With every step toward the door, Sarah's heart thundered in her ears. She knew she had to keep her daughter safe, but each creak of the floor felt like a call from the darkness. She quietly turned the knob, letting the door slide open just enough to peek out. The hallway was still, shadowy and unnerving. The chaos from earlier now felt like a backdrop to a horror film. Reaching for the light switch, she hesitated, remembering how the darkness seemed to throb with life. Instead, eyes adjusting to the gloom, she made her way down the hall, breathing softly. Each step was a prayer. When she reached the top of the staircase, she caught sight of the living room below, the overturned chair now a ghost of their earlier bliss. In the corner of her eye, movement drew her attention. The curtains fluttered faintly as the window swayed open, sending a chill slicing through her skin. "Stay back," she called, voice steady yet fiercely protective, though no one was visible to her gaze. Footsteps echoed in her memory, a reminder of what Mr. Collins had warned. But it wasn't just an old man's fears. Something felt real and raw this time. "Mom?" Emily's voice was barely a whisper, and that simple word sent a new wave of desperation through Sarah. "I'm here, baby," she called back, feeling the panic start to claw at her chest. "Stay close." Suddenly, their moment of quiet was broken by a low growl, an unfamiliar sound that sent terror racing up Sarah's spine. The dark had teeth, and whatever it was out there, it was hungry. What came next was more than a question of survival, it was a test of everything they had. Would they face the shadows together, or would fear tear them apart? Sarah gripped the banister, summoning her courage as she stared into the dark. Below, heart racing. "Who's there?" she breathed, ready for whatever lurked in the night. Just then, a soft whimper jolted Sarah from her focus. The little dog, Lucky, nestled in Emily's lap, looked up at her with wide, trusting eyes. It was as if he sensed the intensity of the moment and wanted only to provide comfort. Emily, still shaking softly, intertwined her fingers with Lucky's tiny paw, a lifeline in the storm brewing around them. "Stay close to him," Sarah instructed, her heart pounding against her chest. She took a breath, trying to ground herself. The echoes of her previous conversations lingered in her mind. They had started to come together. Could they really let fear fracture this newly forged bond? "Emily, listen to me," Sarah said, crouching down at the bottom of the stairs. "Whatever's out there, we're going to face it together. No running away. We're a team, remember?" Emily nodded, a flicker of faith sparking in her eyes. The tendrils of fear flickered as they locked gazes, two warriors against the oncoming dread. With a firm grip on the banister, Sarah stepped closer to the living room, her voice steady. "I'm counting to 3, she said. "If there is something in here, we're going to confront it." "Okay," Emily whispered back, her small voice trembling but resolute. 1, 2, 3. Sarah flipped the switch, flooding the room with light. She swiftly scanned every corner. The curtains fluttered gently under the cool night air entering through the open window, but nothing else moved. Just the little mess from earlier marred the floor. It was a stark contrast to the chaos of emotions that had just taken place. Tension hung in the air, but relief flooded in. "It's just the window," Sarah said, exhaling deeply. "I should have locked it." "You scared me," Emily exclaimed, finally stepping out from her cocoon of safety. "I thought something was in here." I know, Sarah said, pulling her daughter into a hug. "But we faced it. Together." It felt monumental, a turning point in their relationship. They clung to each other tightly while Lucky squirmed between them, snuffling at the warmth of their bond. The world seemed to settle ever so slightly, and the shadows of uncertainty began to recede, if only for that moment. "Mom?" Emily said softly as they separated, her eyes sparkling with a mix of willingness and uncertainty. "I'm sorry for how I've been acting. I sometimes get scared, and I don't know how to handle it. I think I'm afraid of messing up and letting you down." Sarah's heart swelled, flooding memories of her own fears, her struggles, and the undeniable bond between mother and daughter. "Sweetheart, it's okay to be scared. We all are at times. But remember, embracing those fears makes us stronger." With newfound determination, Emily nodded. "Can we promise to always talk? No matter how hard it is?" "Yes. That's our new promise," Sarah replied, tears glistening in her eyes. "And together, we can learn to trust one another." Just then, the front door creaked open, startling them both. Sarah's heart raced again. But it was Mr. Collins, his silver hair catching the light. "I heard something. Is everything all right?" he asked, eyes darting around. Emily stepped forward, emboldened by her mother's earlier words. "We're okay. We found a dog, and we're keeping him." The pride in her voice illuminated the space around them. Mr. Collins' serious demeanor softened slightly. "A dog, huh? Well, that's a start. Dogs have a way of bringing love into a home. Just remember to take care of him and each other." His pointed gaze made Sarah's heart swell again, an affirmation they were moving in the right direction. "Thank you," Sarah said, her voice steadier now. "We're working on being better to listen, to talk, and to trust." The evening shifted, no longer mired in fear but filled with the potential of healing and understanding. Emily engaged Mr. Collins, the shadows of their former struggles slipping away, replaced by bright hopes. Lucky laid peacefully on Emily's lap. The warmth of the tiny creature symbolized the beginnings of something new, their journey toward trust and openness. When Mr. Collins left, Sarah turned to Emily, smiling broadly. "You know, I think this is the start of many beautiful days ahead." Emily grinned, radiating light, a reminder of resilience. "I think so too, Mom. Let us tie it all together." Together, they prepared Lucky's space, each moment bursting with newfound understanding and laughter. It became clear that even amidst turmoil, they could build a sanctuary woven with connection. Love doesn't just conquer fear, it transforms it, and as they settled into bed that night, lucky to have each other, the future no longer felt daunting. Instead, it shimmered with endless possibilities, the walls of their home now echoing with warmth rather than uncertainty. "Let us be a family," they whispered, as if sealing a pact under the stars, and at that moment, Sarah knew beyond doubts, no matter what lay ahead, love would always guide their way. Now, as you've watched their journey unfold, remember, real stories deserve your voice. You need to subscribe now to keep witnessing transformations like this. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about how they overcame their struggles. And please, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Show your support and be part of our growing community.